guys, welcome back. My name is Catherine. So I'm on the ground today instead of standing up, and that's because my legs are just not feeling it right now, so I'm just going to be sitting on the ground. Sorry if the angle is a little weird. Once again, I've been MIA for a little bit, and just like I mentioned in my previous video, I've started an Etsy store, so a lot of my time and attention and concentration has been on that and not so much on reading. So that's why I've been slacking on making videos and reading altogether. I wanted to make my 3-month wrap-up video for the books I've read in October, November, and December. I know it's pretty late to make this video. So in those 3 months, I've read a total of 4 books. 4 books. Definitely not as much as I hoped, and I did not, unfortunately, reach my Goodreads goal, but that's okay. I definitely don't want to put that kind of pressure on myself. Reading is supposed to be fun, not an obligation, so I'm not too upset. In October, I finished reading The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I gave this book between 4 stars and 4.5 stars. I did definitely enjoy it. I thought it was really good, really well done, and the pacing was very interesting because there would be parts and moments of the book where the pacing was slow, and then there was a lot of action, so the pacing was faster, but I did kind of enjoy that. And just overall, the setting and the plot line was very intriguing. So this book is about a group of women who are housewives. Oh, by the way, the book is set in the 90s, I believe, but it's about a group of women who start a book club, and they read a lot of thriller, mystery type of books. One day, a mysterious stranger moves into their neighborhood, and one of the main characters, Patricia, learns that he's not just a regular human being that moved into their neighborhood, he's actually a vampire. She goes on to tell her ladies in the book club about him being a vampire, and although they didn't believe him at first, eventually they do believe her, and the women try to find a way to get rid of him altogether. While they're dealing with this new vampire in their neighborhood, they also have to deal with them being wives to their husbands and mothers to their children, and the struggles that come along with having those roles. They also have to deal with the fact that they're women, so they're restricted and limited to things that they could do back then. The book does touch on some pretty big topics, such as racism, because this vampire targets primarily black children, because back then, if black kids went missing, unfortunately, or if they were murdered, they didn't really get media attention. Not a lot of people really paid attention to that. So this vampire went off going after them instead of white children. There's also talk around gender roles, women's place in society, and even their place in the household, being a mother and being a parent, and what that means for her. There's a lot of other great topics that this book talks about, so for that reason I think it was really good and well done. However, I want to say that there are some trigger warnings. First and foremost, of sexual assault. There is a specific scene where such an occurrence happens, so heads up on that one. Personally, I can't read books that deal with sexual assault because it is a trigger for me. However, when I did read that particular scene, it did not bother me too much, but that's just my experience. But I did want to give a heads up on that. Also, other trigger warnings such as a lot of blood and gore. There's a lot of bloody scenes, a lot of gory scenes in this book. It's pretty gruesome, and the author does not hold back. So if blood and gore and those kind of scenes really do gross you out, I would be a little cautious going into this book. Overall, I think it was a great read. I would definitely recommend it, but just be aware of those trigger warnings. After that book, I read something a little bit more lighthearted. I finished reading The Undomestic Goddess by Sophie Kinsella. This is my first book by this author. I know she's written a ton of books, and she is the author of the Shopaholic series, which hopefully I'll get to, but this book was great. I personally gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I love this book. The humor was great, the romance was great, the whole storyline was very enticing. I enjoyed this through and through, and it was such an entertaining read, and especially after a book like the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, this was much needed. This book is about Samantha, who's an attorney, and she is very passionate about her work. She's a workaholic. She loves working. But one day she accidentally makes a mistake at her firm. For someone who doesn't make a mistake at all, she ends up having a breakdown, a meltdown. This meltdown led her to leave her office, get on a train, and kind of end up in the middle of nowhere. And she ends up at a house where the owner's mistaken her as a housekeeper coming in for an interview. Little do they know, Samantha knows absolutely nothing about domestic work. She does not know how to cook. She does not know how to clean or anything. And before she even gets to tell the homeowners that she's not going to be their housekeeper, they've already accepted her as their housekeeper. So Samantha has to find a way to learn how to cook and clean. At the same time, she meets the gardener, and they have a little romance brewing, which is quite honestly the best part. So this book honestly was hilarious. I loved it through and through. I think it's great, and it does kind of touch on topics about women who want to be in the workforce and be very career oriented, and women who enjoy domestic work, who enjoy doing housework, who enjoy cooking and cleaning, and how there's no right or wrong when it comes to making these decisions. I think this book does a great job kind of talking about that. After that, I read The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi. This book, I gave it like a 2-star. I did not like it personally. It was not one of my favorite books of last year. It was, I don't know, I don't think it was really my favorite. This is the author's debut novel, but personally, it wasn't for me. I definitely was not the target audience. This book takes place in India, and the main character, Lakshmi, she escapes her abusive marriage, which she got into at a pretty young age, and she ends up in the city where she learns to be a henna artist for wealthy women. She becomes very well known around the circle, in the group of wealthy women, and they always request her services to do henna on them. One night, her abusive husband brings a little young girl to her doorstep, and Lakshmi learns that this young girl is actually her younger sister that she never knew about. This young sister of hers is from the village. She has no idea of what it's like to be in the city and that it's a completely different society. So Lakshmi has to basically teach her manners and how to be part of society and how to act and be around and behave around these wealthy women. At the same time, they have to find a way to understand each other as sisters and strengthen the sister relationship between them, because they have not known each other for a very large part of their lives. One of the biggest reasons I didn't really like this book is because the main character, Lakshmi, ends up cheating with one of the wealthy women's husbands. Basically, Lakshmi and that husband, they kind of had like a flirty type of relationship going on, but they never really acted on their feelings, and then one night they did. I just didn't think it was right. I don't think there's any justification around it. I just couldn't agree with that. Also, her relationship with her younger sister was kind of toxic. I personally thought, I don't know, I understand that they have to find a way to kind of work around each other because, again, they haven't known each other for a super long time. So they have to find a way to actually, like, kind of find common ground. But, I don't know, I just kind of felt like it was a little negative and a little toxic. But that's my personal experience reading this book. I think the book did a really good job with bringing forth Indian culture to the spotlight. I really did think the author did a great job kind of detailing what it's like for Indians back in that time period. She had a great way of describing like scents and smells and sounds and colors, and so I think she did a great job there. But when it came to character development, I personally thought it wasn't all that great. After that, the last book I read last year was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This book, I have to give it like a 1.5, and that's me being generous. I don't mean to be too harsh or rude I really don't like giving really low ratings, but if I did not enjoy my experience with the book, I'm just gonna be honest with it. Honestly, I did not like the main character. The main character's name is Alice. I did not like her. I just couldn't, you know, I could not like her. I just found her very unbearable, intolerable, and annoying. I think the way she was meant to be portrayed is this really edgy, like cold-hearted girl, and I can kind of understand she's been on the move all the time with her mom. Like, she's had to move from school to school, place to place, so she's never been able to form relationships and friendships with people and grow attachments. But I just could not enjoy reading from her perspective. It was really frustrating and really hard to find her likable, to be honest. The book itself was pretty confusing, so as far as my understanding goes, the book is about Alice and her mom, Ella, and they've always been moving from place to place because no matter where they go, bad luck follows. So something bad always happens to them, so they have to keep moving. Alice's grandmother is actually a very prominent and well-known fairy tale author. One of her books became pretty big. One day, Alice and her mom Ella find out that Alice's grandmother actually died, and Alice becomes very curious around her grandmother's existence and very curious about this book that she wrote. Hi guys, editing CAD. So I also forgot to mention in the Hazelwood, Alice's mom Ella gets kidnapped by the fairy tale characters from her grandmother's book. So Alice is actually looking for her mom and trying to bring her back. So I forgot to mention that her mom gets kidnapped too. Back to the video. Along the way, she ends up realizing that the fairy tale characters in her grandmother's book are actually real life. Could not get into it no matter how much I tried. And although I don't really want to read the second book, I will anyways, because I kind of have this OCD thing where I have to finish a book and I have to finish a series no matter what, but we'll see. So that's it guys, that's my 3-month wrap up of 4 books that I read. Nonetheless, I still enjoy reading and I do read in my spare time. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful reading year so far. I hope you guys are reading some wonderful books and enjoying your time as well. And remember to stay safe, please be careful, and please take care of everyone around you. And I'll see you next time. So hopefully you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.